no ending point for a thought. That is the assumption of the self. So the self, in with sensation and consciousness and all of that stuff, is predicated on the belief that the mind is telling an accurate story about a physical brain in time and space. But if you follow the logic with relativity and separation, you cannot know an object unless you are that object. And no two objects can be in the same spot at the same time, but I digress. So even within that idea of separation, if you don't know the source of your thought, then everything that you see to be real is sourceless. It just appears as thought and as a conscious being separate from what it observes. So when you look at the sun and you look at the moon and you see a constellation and a star, what that is the appearance or the story of an individual that is observing or experiencing something. Now, that is not substantiated. It can't be validated. Okay. So the self, consciously aware of a sun and a moon, is the story of separation without validation. And all of it is and is not separate, I mean, or sourceless. You can say that the moon and the sun are separate, just as if you took a picture of the moon and the sun, all right, and you're looking at the moon and the sun, is the picture one thing, or are the little things in the picture separate? Okay, same thing with a movie or a book, for example. It gets paradoxical, but the essential logic behind the lack of a source for your thought is based in the story of relativity, the story of logic and science, in that you cannot be what you are not. You cannot be, or you cannot know an object if you are not that object, because there is separation between the two of you. So if you are not your brain, and then you are not your mind, then you're not your thought, and everything that you think is real is the story of separation. And therefore, there is no moon or sun in an objectively true sense. There appears to be, but they are not separate. It's just a story. Just like the picture is the picture, the movie is the movie, the book is the book.
Okay.
It cannot be.
So I get that. So what you're saying is because of how I perceive and what's inside me negates the moon and the sun being separate. You're saying that because myself can't be proven, yes, the moon and the sun must be separate.
No, it's not that yourself can't be proven. It's that yourself cannot exist within the logic, within the framework of relativity.
How does that affect the moon and the sun? How does me not existing or me not knowing affect the distance between the moon and the sun as two separate objects?
Well, because there is no separation. See, there is no separation at all. In the same way that what appears to be your thought is not separate from the story of an individual. How about this? Let me see if I can. You were saying, Paul, if I hear you correctly,
I'm asking. I'm not saying.
Okay. Well, you're asking if I'm hearing you.
Separate the moon and the sun. How our thoughts can do that? Make them.
They don't.
You're saying they're not separate. You're saying they're all part of a whole.
No, I'm saying that.
How you're saying ourself and our thoughts and the way we perceive actually doesn't separate them.
No.
Or am I confused?
Yes. See, here's the thing. If you are not thinking, okay, as in you are not your brain and you're not your mind, so you are not thinking, then yourself is the appearance of separation. You appear to be consciously aware of other things, right? A sun and a moon, correct? You appear to be separate from the sun. You appear to be separate from the moon. Those two objects appear to be separate from you.
I don't
But
understand how I appear internally proves the fact that the moon and the sun are separate. I'm
well,
not.
I mean,
I
I'm
don't understand
explaining.
that link. Well, you need to try and explain it to me a little bit simpler, because it's not making any sense to me, Howard.
Okay. Well, okay. Do you think you're thinking?
No, not by asking me questions. That's a bit
Well,
passive.
I have to, because you're not understanding.
You got there's a direct question, and the direct question is
I'm.
how are the moon and the sun not separate? To me, in
They don't
every
exist.
no,
They,
it's not about whether I exist or not. It's about whether or not the moon and the sun, to me, in all appearances, in all measurements, the sun's hot, the moon's cold. The moon's close, the sun's far. The sun's bright, the moon's dull. The sun gives us life, the moon affects tide. So to me, in every measurement I can come up with, they are separate. Now,
and they're subjective. There is no measurement.
They're subjective since they enter my head. They are
Yeah.
objects.
But you are not your head, right? You're not your brain.
I'm not asking what I am. I'm asking why are the moon and the sun separate? Now,
okay, you are not your brain, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you are not the culminating mechanism of the brain, which would be the mind.
Okay, so you're saying, sorry, let me just take this little bit, so I'm a simple man. So what you're saying is, because I don't exist, the moon and the sun are separate. Sorry, are not separate. Just asking, because I don't exist,
Yeah.
that means the moon and the sun are one.
Well, kind of, sort of. It's not exactly like that, because what you're saying is, you're saying I don't exist. And
I'm
like,
asking a question, Howard.
right, yes. And I'm telling you, okay, you don't exist as an individual in time and space. You appear to.
I agree with that.
Okay, so you are not thinking, correct?
Yeah.
So how can you measure something?
I don't know what me measuring anything's got to do with the moon.
You said that you can measure the distance between the sun and the moon, between you and the sun. How are they not separate?
You're saying the measurement is what makes them.
I am saying there is no measurement, because there's no separation, because there's nobody thinking.
But then, if there is no separation, who's the one that experienced separation? To whom this non-separation appears?
See, that's the thing, to no one.
If it's fundamental, the non-separation, is it fundamental then?
No.
Because if there is no me, what is that could be separate from what?
Yeah,
Then the statement of non-separation is not valid, because if you do not exist, there is nothing to be separated or separate or not separate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just this appearance of what seems like separation.
Therefore, the non-separation must be another.
They appear to be separate, but are not separate as they appear.
What is not separate if there is no
The sun
you?
and the moon, the light are in you.
Why does how the sun and the moon appear to us affect the objects, the sun and the moon? That's what I don't understand. So you're saying that
Okay. Now, follow me through with this. If you are not thinking, all right, everything that you think is real has no substantiation, correct?
Just stop at that. I accept that fact totally.
Okay.
The question is, how does that fact affect the sun and the moon?
Are they real?
No, I'm not asking that. I'm asking how.
I'm asking you if the sun and the moon are real.
They're empty, Howard. You're using you're responding to my question with a question.
Yes, because I need to know what you mean by real. So you're saying that they are not real.
No, I'm investigating your statement.
Okay.
You said and the moon. Yeah, and I'm really putting you on a hot plate here, so apologies.
No, that's
the sun
fine.
and the moon are not separate. They are together.
There
And
is
I'm
no sun or
asking-
moon, really.
Well, okay, that's the difference. But I'm asking, I'm trying to explore your view
Okay.
on what that completeness is.
Right.
Because to me, the sun and the moon are objects.
Right. Why?
I don't know, because they heat me up when I sit in the sunbathe.
Okay.
Because
Well,
they have a
yeah.
physical, in the now, effect on me. I can see the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time. The sun heats me up. It's not the moon. It's obviously not the moon. So my senses are telling me that the reality that I'm perceiving, and I would like to believe my senses are true.
Yes.
Some other people are coming along and saying, well, this isn't true. These senses that I've got, my hearing, my eyes, my fingers, are deceiving me. This doesn't exist. And I'm asking the question, what can I believe in more than my senses to confirm that the sun and the moon are not separate when everything tells me they are separate?
Okay. Well, you can
Logic and
believe, or you
experience.
hang on a second. You can believe, or you can think anything you like, but the reality of the situation is you are not thinking, right?
I believe that if I lay out in the sun, I get sunburned.
Yeah, but that's not objectively. Yeah, I mean, but that doesn't.
So,
Yeah,
so
it
what you're saying,
appears
that
to
doesn't-
happen that way. Yes.
but it doesn't. So it does. So if I lay out in the sun long enough, I will die. That is not.
Sure.
You're saying that's not real.
Logic cannot explain non-separation. That's first. Logic cannot explain that you do not exist, because the only thing we perceive, as I earlier said, I do perceive this body. That would be insane if I say I don't perceive the body.
Right.
In that moment, the separation of my self experiencing appears, isn't it? But we cannot believe only what what the logic says.
But what you're doing,
We should have a experience on that.
you're taking
Therefore,
you're taking the object, your body, putting it into your mind, and then in your mind you're making decisions and theories about the object, your body. And
that's
then
what I'm saying, that this is a logic. This is pure logic. But the perception is, as you say, I'm under the sun, I'm burning.
That's not a perception. That is what is in the objective world is happening. What is the perception is how we see that and translate that into our brain. That is where the unreality is.
Well, you don't have a brain, and you're not
Well,
thinking. So
again,
the sensation of it, the sensation of an individual that is being burned by the sun,
again,
is the story of an individual that is separate from the sun.
you can't start with a statement, you have no brain.
I'm sorry, sir.
You can't start that with you have no brain.
Well, you just agreed with me.
No, you just can't start it like that. As an object, I have a brain.
No. But you are not your brain, right?
No, that's something different. That's not. That's not.
No.
I haven't got hands. Well, I clearly have hands.
Yeah, but
Well,
you are
we
not
always
your hands,
say-
are you?
We always say that we're all one, everybody's one, but everything is one. So the sun and the moon and the stars and everything is oneness.
Yes, they are. That's spot on. But does that make them not? Does that make it non-separation? Is there no separation? Just because we're all part of one thing doesn't mean we're not separate within that one thing, does it?
No, the story of you thinking that the sun and the moon are separate, or is the tetherless story of an individual that is aware of separate objects from itself.
But that's a statement you're making towards me.
I'm following up the logic that I'm trying to have you follow here.
You're not following. That's not logical to me, Howard. I know it's logical to you, but not to me.
I'm sorry?
It's not logical to me.
Okay. Well, you just said, right? You agreed that you're not your brain. So you're not your mind, right?
No, but the reason I said that is because we're made up of my brain, my neurons, my heat, my flesh, my nails, my beard, my toes. We're dependent origination. We're made up of lots of different things.
Mhm.
So not one part of me is me. All the parts of me create a me.
Right.
So I'm talking about, and all us all being one. I agree with. We're all one. We're all dependent. We're all part of the same thing. But that doesn't mean we're not separate. I've got two hands. They're part of
Yeah.
my body, but they're separate.
Well, it appears that way, yes.
And if you're a
I mean,
separate,
it appears that way. It appears that we are separate individuals communicating information, but that's not what's happening because we're not thinking.
I'm talking the two things here: objectively,
Mhm.
as objects.
Well,
As
what do you know objectively?
we're all separate. I don't know anything objectively. I don't need to know.
Okay.
I'm talking about what my senses are telling me.
So then,
If I choose to believe my senses as I'm sitting here now, if all five of us believe our senses,
Mhm.
we're not one. We're separate objects.
Depends on your perspective.
Well, okay, they may touch me.
Well,
No.
it depends on your perspective. I'm sorry, Coquila, go ahead.
oh no, I just want to ask you, so I have to leave, but I sent you a book last week. It was supposed to arrive on Wednesday, but you haven't received it yet.
I haven't got a book.
Okay, I have
Wait
the
a minute.
tracking number, so I'll check it out, but
If it showed up, is it big or is it small?
it's about 9 inches square. 9 or 10 inches square.
I've had a bunch of stuff packages. Let me look. See, check the packaging, and if it costs anything, if I somehow have misplaced this or something, because I haven't had a caregiver for the past week, so a lot of stuff has been.
Oh, so maybe you haven't received it. Yeah, it's in a parcel, in a paper parcel, and it's you asked about Ramana Maharshi and what he believes, and so it's very simple, and it's really what I believe. So when you get this, it'll be interesting to hear your. I hope you get it soon, and
I do too. If I don't, I'll give you money to tell me what it is, and I'll get it myself. But I have not seen the book.
Okay. All
And
right. Well, I'll check it out with the tracking. Well, it's really good to see you, and nice to meet you, Jesse, and nice to see you, Paul. And
Thank you. Thank you.
see you again.
Thank you, Miss
See you.
Coquila. See you later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye. Yes. So the separation of the sun and the moon is the illusion that there is an individual aware of objects other than itself. Because, if you want to get into relativity or whatever, you can't, because you're not thinking. It's because there is no origin for your thought. So everything that appears to be real is the story.
Make it down in little. You give me so much information. I can't. It's because you said because the sun and the moon are not real because we're thinking.
No, because we're not thinking. Because
we're not thinking or not thinking.
Right.
How does not thinking affect the moon?
Well, it's not there. It's not there. The entirety of your immediate experience, okay, is I get it. I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Okay, this is my fault. Okay. The universe doesn't exist in that. There is nothing beyond your immediate experience. Okay, what appears to be a you.
There could be nothing beyond my immediate experience, because if you're saying there's nothing beyond it, you can't prove there is something beyond it. So the answer is good. There could be nothing beyond my immediate experience, and if you said that, I would have to agree with you. Okay. Could be the operative word.
Okay, there could be, or there couldn't. It doesn't matter. It's still the story, but it has no objective realism attached to it.
That's the next step. You're taking it to the next step. You're saying that there is nothing beyond our immediate experience. Therefore, and what I'm saying is you cannot claim that as that there is nothing beyond our immediate experience. There could not. There may be. You
Right.
can't claim that. And
I'll
if you,
take a glass of Coke. Sorry, 1 minute.
Yeah. No, there's no, well, see,
if you
yes.
do claim that, then everything from that premise is suspect.
Yes. Well, essentially, it's the story of an individual trying to explain to another person why their thoughts not being their own mean that their objective reality is not objectively true.
But what
So-
you're telling me is your thoughts prove that your objective reality is true.
I don't think
You're saying that-
I'm not here.
I'm
you're
asking
not-
you. No, I'm asking you a question.
I
How
can't-
are the moon and the sun not separate? Let's stay on
Okay. Well, immediate experience is all there is, and there's nothing
No,
beyond it.
well, okay, that's fine. I like that. But my point is there's objects.
There appear to be, yes.
And there appear to be objects. However, there are objects which all my senses tell me exist. And then there's my immediate experience. I would like to know how my immediate experience affects the objects that appear to be there.
It's not your immediate experience. It's immediate experience.
How the
Expressing a you
Hours before
looking
the
at
death,
something other than itself. So listen, try to imagine it like this. Okay, in regards to a lack of separation, there's a room, right? The room is relative to no other position. There is literally nothing outside of the room, right? You are
Is that-
being expressed in the room.
is that a
Yeah.
statement of fact? There's nothing outside the room, or is that your opinion?
Well, there's no fact or fiction here. I mean, it just doesn't, there's no way that I can say one thing is true or not, nor
Okay.
can you or anyone else, because we're not thinking.
Yeah.
yes, but
We don't
earlier you
exist.
said-
The story of what is appearing to happen in this here and now is the story of separation in time and space,
It's still
but none of
talking
that is actual.
about the moon and the sun.
But
Yeah, the moon and
earlier,
the sun appear to exist, but don't exist as they appear. Yes.
earlier you said, when I told you that all you know and assume is because of logic, and the only validation of it could be immediate experience, you said that there is no experience.
Yes.
Then how
Yes.
is only the experience? You see, the logic cannot explain
Immediate
something.
experience is you're right. The immediate experience is not alluding to an individual experiencing something other than itself. Immediate experience is expressing the totality of what appears to be happening as a room relative to no other position. So it's not that you are aware or experiencing something. It's that what appears to be happening contains a you that is consciously aware of something other than itself. And then there,
But the opposing statement, Howard,
Yeah.
completely opposite what you just said, is just as valid as the statement you just said.
right. Well, I have no position to defend or
And then
attack.
I'm not asking you to defend. I'm just trying. I will come back to the original question.
Yeah.
How are the sun and the moon not separate? Where all my senses and my vision
Yeah, but there
measurement
is no.
things tell me they're separate. So something has to be quite convincing to
Right.
convince me they are not separate.
Yes.
And so far you said, because you're not real, the sun and the moon aren't real. Because of the way you perceive the sun and the moon means that's not real. And then my question is how do we perceive things and how do we believe in things affect objects like the sun and the moon?
Okay, none of that is actual. See, you don't have to type any of this because I can send you the recording. The thing about it is, the significance of you not being attached to thought, the self not being the brain or the mind. Okay, what that means is that there is no objective you. Okay, what that means is there is no self that is being told a story about a sun and a moon. The sun and the moon are separate, as you and I are separate, right? But that is the appearance of a happening, but what is happening isn't happening. It emerges out of not even nothing and just appears to be an effect from a cause, but we have no example of a cause. So it is a lack of time and space, a lack of cause and effect, a lack of matter and motion. There is no moon. And there is, God almighty, there is no sun in that sense. In that, if you think you exist in time and space, then yes, the universe exists, right? But you don't exist in time and space, right? Or at least that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
So what is the universe without time and space?
We don't exist in time and space,
Right.
but our objective stuff that makes us up does.
Okay,
So the
so
body, your beard, your glasses, my ears, the objects exist. The you, the me, the thing that I attach to, believe the self, for want of a better word, is a product of the object. So let me just give an example. Body heat,
Mhm.
the heat our body gives off, is a product of our body. Can we agree with that?
I missed that last part because there's some bells and whistles going on. What was that?
Sorry, mine.
No problem.
The body heat, our body heat, is generated by the object, which is our body.
Yeah.
So without the body, there'd be no body heat.
Well, there's not. That's the story. The sensation. You see, what is sensation without thought?
Go back to that consciousness. I'm going
Well,
back to
what is sensation without thought?
So self is being produced by the body, and the parts of the mind and the brain and the electrons is producing the self, the feeling of self, the same way the body's producing the heat.
If you're
The
not
self-
thinking, how do you know that?
I don't need to know it. I
So
don't know.
there's your answer.
No, because what
Well,
you're
that's
saying,
your answer.
because I don't know, it
Right.
doesn't exist. I don't know
Right.
gravity. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
It appears to, yes.
Well, I'm not, I'm just trying to stay on point, and the point
Okay.
I'm trying to stay on is, and I know I'm grilling you, but the question is the moon and the sun. The statement is the moon and the sun are not separate,
Yes.
and I'm trying to understand that. And what you're saying is they're not separate because of how we perceive them.
Well,
We're not separate.
that's one way of looking at it. Sure.
We're
How
not
about
separate.
this? Remember yesterday? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That they're not separate. They're not separate because we do not exist. They're not separate because we are not real and they are not real.
Yeah.
Is there anything I missed on?
No, that's basically it. I mean, essentially, yes. I mean, there is no real or unreal because there's no way of knowing any source for your thought, for your
Let me answer
consciousness.
that. That's a really good point. Let me answer that, or question that a bit more, interrogate you a little bit more. There's no real or unreal.
Yes.
Because I think I got myself. There's no real or unreal. So I would say, what are objects? What are the things my senses tell me are there? What is this Rubik's Cube that's annoying the life out of me?
Well, the funny thing about that is there's no answer, right? There is no answer for what an object is. Even if you want to believe time and space exist and objects exist, there is no definition of an object, correct?
There is an answer. This object exists. How I perceive it is illusionary.
Yeah.
Yes, but you are not. Yes, but that is
exists. How I touch and feel it and it gets into my mind is illusionary. So I believe that's the white side. We may all agree that's the white side, but that's illusionary because it's gone from my eyes into my mind. So we're mixing up the world of this object with how we perceive it in our mind and how we construct it in our mind.
Okay.
Because we construct it is imaginary and unreal. The object is unreal. And I'm saying the real, how we perceive it is making us doubt its reality.
Okay.
Yes.
How we
Yes.
just,
How we perceive. Okay. For example, the light. For example, the light has no quality. It only can be seen if it's reflected,
yes,
isn't it?
yes,
So the light itself has no quality as bright. The light has the length of a wave, so we can experience it or sense it as something, but the color is already an imagination. This
yes,
is just length of a sound. Everything is compressed air, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we see, it's subjective. But
yes,
from the moment we identify ourselves with the object, we cease to be the subject itself. We are not subject, we are objects. Because we have already identified this thing. We believe that we see this light here, aren't we? We believe that the hand is a hand because the light is reflected. So we
what
can perceive and we can feel the solidity because of the repulsion of the electrons.
what we're doing is we're giving the hand a label,
Yes,
and
we
that
define it.
we give it a label, we give it a name, a hand.
Yes,
Then happens the name, the hand, the concept goes into our mind, and then we
yes,
attach description. So my hand is very white in this screen.
yes.
Are you doing that?
Pardon?
Did you raise your hand right there? Is this, am I doing this? Am I doing this right now?
You're going about 25,000 steps ahead. Yeah. So I'm really interested in people's views on what we're perception, how we're perceiving, and what we can agree on,
Well,
and
you've seen that's
and then move forward to where you are.
okay.
So
Well,
it's like teaching a child maths and then giving him E equals MC squared and asking him why he doesn't understand it. We have no common perception of what's happening. So we have this you talk in this position, the non-dualists talk in this position, and whenever I investigate them,
The building blocks of reality, the building blocks of the apparent reality,
yeah,
what we know from science, and science is what we believe to hear and see, those are like the quarks, has no mass, has no length. You see, they are not perceivable. Therefore, we say that they are empty and they are nothing, only because we cannot perceive it. How we cannot perceive it? Because we cannot measure them. That's really interesting. Therefore, we say that there is nothing solid because they have no mass and length, but they are already somehow structured into an object. And even that they're in constant motion, we see this object solid. Those are beliefs from my perspective and experience. Those are beliefs. We believe that we experience those, but they somehow appear. That is because logic comes only from some knowledge we have. The experience is something different from knowledge.
yes, okay, I'm with you on that. What I prefer to do is to try and understand what's immediately in front of me and what I can verify for myself. So touch, how I can do that.
Only through senses. Through logic, you can speak forever.
Well, there's also the knowing. There's also the next stage up where you get you know. You don't need knowledge or intellect to know. You
Yes.
just start to know. But I'm really just exploring the non-duality side of the moon and the sun are not separate.
Yes.
Have you asked that question of other non-duality speakers?
Well, that's a yes, I have, and I get the response I get is normally, well, nothing exists.
Those are the Western mind.
Absolutely, yes, very much in the Western. I'm very much in the West, and they are people. I haven't asked any Asian.
Yeah.
But yes, I have.
Western.
Because
How is that Western?
Western mind is the mind who tries to find the logic in everything. That, for example, in Advaita, God is
Love it.
Brahman,
You can come in.
and
It's got their clothes.
in Western world, God is another creator, a deity that gave us some commandments. In this sense, the Western mind cannot understand how the Advaita presents God, first of all. Second of all,
I don't even
Advaita,
understand what you just said, though.
like
When you say
Advaita-
Western mind, am I in the West?
well,
Is
Western
my mind in the
like
West?
our part, the scientific part, because we have learned, we are conditioned to go after science. First of all, we have to prove things, to measure things, to say that it exists. If you go to the East, they just know it from their, for example, Vedanta and this stuff. So from Vedantic point, all that is awareness. But the Western dualist will say nothing exists.
The Western mind is because I'm in the West.
Well, I put it in, yeah.
Somebody said that about me. They're like, "Oh, he's a Western, that's just dark Western something," they said. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I feel like I'm saying the same thing as Nisargadatta Maharaj, who, you know what I mean? So I don't see how what I'm saying is any different from Asian
What are
thought
you
or Eastern thought.
There is a difference in 90% of people. There is a difference, and that's the conditioning. The conditioning. Westerners have other condition they grew up, they believed in. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I mean, so you're saying that you don't like that answer.
What answer? Sorry.
The answer that you've been getting, you've been asking the same question of multiple people.
I don't like the answer, because the answer that comes back, I try to, so they say things like nothing, everything comes from nothing. We do not exist. And when I ask them to just to open up a little bit more about what this nothing is and how can nothing contain anything and where did everything come from, there is no answer coming back from that I can either believe or disbelieve. There's just no answer at all. So
Well,
what I end up doing is pressurizing Howard, because he's a decent, he's good enough to human. But the answer I get back, the answer I get back, Walter, is it doesn't think things are separate, and the question things are not separate. And I say, well, how are the sun and the moon not separate exactly? Everything come from nothing. And I say, well, what is this nothing? And they say, every emptiness contains everything. And I say, well, how can that be? Please explain.
I can tell you.
I bet
I
you
can
can't.
tell you. Okay, I can tell you this. The okay, just to give you an analogy. All right, the Big Bang, right? It came from not even nothing, right?
No, that's a construct to explain something where it's unexplainable. It's a human construct.
Exactly.
Say,
Yeah, I understand. Yes. Okay. Well, let's take that. Okay. It is dimensionality as we cannot understand it. Correct. What the
Because
Big
we
Bang
try to
appeared
show-
in is unexplainable, right? It's not a dimension. It's not a time. It's not a place, right?
the Big Bang is a concept in people's minds.
Yeah, I get that. Just, I mean, follow me here, or try to follow this train of thought.
Sorry.
You know, there's the moon for you. But in any case, so yes, the Big Bang it's a concept, right? But the concept is based in this story that there was no dimensionality and an infinitely dense point expands, right? And it's still expanding, and it's and continuously and exceedingly getting faster, expanding into not even nothing, right? Right.
No, I understand the concept.
Okay.
Again, I'll challenge you with this. Does that concept have any proven link to reality? Does that actually have any?
No,
Maybe
there is no reality.
No, hang on. That concept
No,
is a human
How-
concept. It's constructed.
Yes, it's a theory. Yes.
It's got nothing to do with reality.
No.
Whether there's no reality or not, it's just us talking about what we think
Yes.
from our senses the world is made of,
Right.
or was what happened. So scientists are telling us. So I'm just talking about my senses and what the simple stuff. That's much too clever for me.
If
So-
you are not your thought, are you your senses?
You're part of everything. You're made up of all your body heat needs every part of your body to produce body heat. Our thoughts need every part of our body to produce thoughts. So
Well, they're not your thoughts though, right?
no, because we do not exist.
Right. Well,
As a construct, we're constructed. We think there's the objective world, the object, which is my body. And there's me saying that all of these bits together make me as a person up. That is false.
Right.
So we are empty. We are dependent on, I'm dependent on my heart beating to exist, but I am not a self. I have not got a soul, an independent, permanent essence.
Can I
It- it-
ask something? How
Yes.
do you perceive your thoughts?
How do I perceive my thoughts?
Yeah.
No,
No physicality, no physicality.
okay. If you're talking about the watcher and about knowing,
No, I mean, do you perceive them as words, images?
no. I don't know is the answer, but from my personal experience, my words express, I have the thought and then I attach a word to it and use that word to express what that thought is. It's not a picture because I can't picture things when I try to shut my eyes and try to think. It's something else. I think it's just an energy. I don't know what it is. But how does that, I think what happens is we have the thought, we attach a word, and then we go forward with that is what I think is how our thoughts are. We react to our thoughts. So we
Well,
see a spider, we attach a label, that's a spider, and then our emotions go, oh, I'm scared of spiders, and we run. There's
I
not,
would-
that's all part of us. That's all part of the what we falsely claim as a me.
Right. It's the illusion of consciousness and separation.
Consciousness is not the illusion. Consciousness is not the illusion,
Okay.
Howard.
I
The
understand.
illusion is that
I'm just using
identity-
language here. I'm just
Yeah.
using language. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just
Okay.
having Paul follow a
Mm-hmm.
certain logic to get to the pointer. It's not, I'm not saying anything is true or false. I'm
I've got
just
no-
using,
I've got no,
Yes, but
I'm
but
asking,
if-
and the question is, how are the sun and the moon not separate?
okay.
Are we still on this?
No,
Yeah.
here it is. The
I've got-
significance. The significance.
Do you have any other questions?
No,
I do
I
have-
can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
Walter, let me just, Walter, I don't know whether you're non-dualist or whether you're just happily listening in. So I don't know really what question to ask you, but if you were a non-dualist, if you thought that nothing existed, I would ask,
Yes.
how can this Rubik cube, this one here,
Yes.
not exist?
Because you're not thinking about it.
Well,
There
if
is
you
no
want to know how
unity.
I would answer that,
Yes, please.
I would answer it like this. So the reality of this construct of a separate individual somehow was seen through by no one. It was a, you know, they talk about the veil being lifted. All these, you know, stories
Yeah.
within stories, dreams
Yeah.
within dreams. So once that deeply held belief was, you know, was kind of shattered,
Yeah.
then really everything was shattered. I mean, every piece of anything that I could perceive, conceive, think to be true, had to be called into question. So
Okay.
so this is the real and the unreal. So the Rubik's Cube is real in reference to a me.
No, we're talking about, yeah, in reference to right. I'm asking, how is this Rubik's cube not real as an object? And you're saying it's not real as an object because me is not real. It's
Because
unreal.
if the perceiver is unreal, then the perceived. Do you know what I mean? Like if your microscope is faulty, you're not going to rely on it to give you any information. If your computer's broken,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
I'm just so I don't. So this is a fall. This existence of a separate person is the where all this information is coming from. So I can't depend on any of it to be real. Nothing that is seen with the senses or perceived with the senses is, in fact, real. It's real and unreal. It's real only to a me.
Walter, so what you're
Yes, go
saying
ahead.
is, I know. So what you're saying is how we perceive this Rubik's cube proves it's not real.
It doesn't prove anything. I'm just saying
You're not perceiving anything because you're not here. You're assuming the self and the observation of others.
Doesn't mean it's not
this
here.
body mind organism is just like the Rubik's Cube. It's another object.
It's a thought. The Rubik cube is just a thought. But what is a thought? A thought is just a frequency which we dress with language. We interpret it as language definition. Therefore, we experience the Rubik cube exactly as we believe it is.
This word, the word is not true. Rubik
Definition.
is not true. The object is true. Soon as we label it and turn it into a concept, it becomes to us unreal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Makes sense?
Yes.
It's true, just does it make sense logically. So we give this a label and we bring the label into our head. The Rubik's cube doesn't go in my head. The vision of it goes in my head. Now the vision may be faulty. So how we see this may be faulty. This might be something completely different. But we have to take our reality as basis because we'll go mad otherwise. So the word Rubik's cube suddenly is in our head, and then we can do whatever we want with it and make it into whatever it wants. And that is what is not real. The concept of the Rubik's cube is illusionary because our eyes could have say we could all see this white as a different color. So we don't know this is white.
Of course.
in our heads, I could say it's solved. Do that and pretend it's solved. But in reality, it's a Rubik's Cube and it is what it is. If we take the label away, it's just an object.
Yes.
So we're playing with concepts. And when we say to the concept, well, my concept tells me we don't exist, therefore the sun and moon don't exist. We're using a concept, a human construct,
Yeah.
and saying that reality, our concept tells reality what reality is, which is, to me, just seems ridiculous.
When it's defined, something is defined, it's already an object. If
Once
it's not defined exactly, this is just as it is, and that is the awareness that there is an object. Now, if it's real or not is the illusionary me who wants to present his own ideas. And when we follow those ideas, we go to analyze forever and ever.
we all build our individual constructs, and then we argue the difference between our constructs.
Yes.
And what we forget is the moon. The moon is out here. The moon is up. We don't discuss the moon as an object out there. We discuss the moon that's in my head, the concept. Sorry, Walt, I did cut across you there. But
I'll be right back.
So you come to the understanding that you, Walter, as an individual yourself, was false, that non-existent. Is that what you said?
Well, I'd say one of the things that was obvious was that there was no free will and choice.
Okay.
It seemed like everything was happening without a me, without that the me was just an idea.
Exactly. I'm with you on that, Walter. 100%.
Yeah, it was also, you could say it's a felt sense or a belief in the mind, but it, one could affect the other. The thought in the mind affects the body, but that whole construct of a me was, finally sort of seen through or loosened up or whatever it was, but then it was just seen that this is the way it was always.
Yes. I'm with you.
So then when it comes to more, I don't know, like a lot of these more heady discussions don't do much for me, to be honest.
Cool.
But, I like to, they're fun, but, the juice for me is like, it just feels incredible, this aliveness, this presence,
Yeah. Yes. When you
But
drop
as-
the self,
Go
when
ahead.
you drop that sense of self, when you stop worrying about me and you stop having an ego and you stop having possessions and attachment and you let go, I found the sense of freedom is immense. Suddenly I just living life.
Yeah.
And after a few years of that, you end up in a zone where things that used to matter don't matter anymore. You see their construct. You see that England winning the European Cup is irrelevant. It's just a construct, or your favourite sports team doing whatever, or your love for your favourite pet is important, but it's not real. And once you see the me, the self isn't real, then everything else becomes unreal, I think.
Yeah.
But not non-existent. And that's the next step. See, the next step.
Oh, I see. So that's the leap that you're not willing to make.
That to me is, yes, exactly, that it's not real in relation to the me, the self, which is non-existent.
Exactly.
Is not real. Therefore, nothing is real. Everything is empty. Then they go, because of the Heart Sutra, then they go, empty links us all. If everything is empty.
Of definition.
Empty, yeah, it's all dependent. Then they go, well, therefore, everything is non-existent. everything is non-separate. There is no dual. And to me, it's that leap, and I'm investigating that leap.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, there's nothing real as I think it is. Or, you know, nothing is wrapped up in a nice little box with a bow on it, like I've always put everything in.
There's no label of Walter. There's no object that's called Walter Driscoll that
Yes.
exists to go on to another life that exists separately from everything else. We're all part of everything.
Yes, but can I ask you something, Walter? Well, you said that it was like this experience when the I, the little me, as they say, just don't exist. It was an illusion. Hear me?
I'm listening.
Yeah.
I heard a
So
little interference, that's all.
my point is that this is when the false I dissolves, isn't it that immediate experience the reality itself? Didn't you feel that this is real? When you realize
I'll tell you what I felt. I felt that there are all these other sort of bodies around, and oh God, I mean, it's just, it felt like there was this one, I don't know what you want to call it, energy, consciousness,
Yeah.
expressing itself through
Yeah.
everything else, through all these bodies,
But
through my cat.
I mean, that was real. I mean,
What?
that was real.
Was it real? I don't even think that that was real, but again, it was a dream within a dream. So I'm not saying that that was real and that the experience of being separate wasn't real. I think there's still both experiences. There's both.
What you're getting stuck on, if I may, what you may be getting stuck on is that experience of everything was real, your cat and things are coming to you. 100 years ago, you would say that was a god. You would say that was God. Now, it is not fashionable to say that. So we start to say that's some sort of energy, that's some sort of field, that's some sort of nothing, that's some sort of nothingness that you felt.
It was more of an absence.
Yes, absolutely, or absence, however you want to describe that. And it's that going from that feeling, which I recognize.
Okay.
What I'm trying to investigate is the next level down, maybe is the right word, that Howard is talking about taking that to there's no self, therefore there's no existence. There's no self, therefore the moon and the sun are separate. And I'm trying to explore more where what you're talking about, where suddenly you wake up and you go, oh, there's no me, there's no soul, there's no individual, and you awaken to the world around you.
Yeah.
And
there are no actions. It was clear that there are no actions that are my actions. There are no thoughts that are my thoughts. It was like I was being lived. And Howard and I talked about this.
Itself. That is the reality itself.
We've all got a lot.
That is the reality.
We all have a reality itself, which is called non-duality. We all put labels on that. I'm not sure what it is, but I've experienced something similar.
Okay.
Well,
so I really appreciate your questioning, because I think you're saying we all can kind of talk about what I'm talking about right now, and we've all had these experiences, but to go beyond that and discount any reality whatsoever, or the existence of separate things such as a sun and a moon, how do you get from there to there is no me to there's no sun?
Exactly.
That's what you're asking.
I'm investigating.
Investigating. Yeah. No, that's great because I don't know that shit. Howard's smarter than me.
Indeed.
No,
I don't know you. Smart. I know Howard's smart.
I'm glad you're asking Howard and not me because I don't really handle those questions as elegantly as Howard.
We've been doing it over the internet for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
I've been gentle in real life with him. But it's an interesting, because I've really got to go. It's an interesting, maybe, because 15 years ago, people who talk like Walter, I'd look at you and I'd go, what's he talking about? And I'd ask you lots of questions about how is there no me and how did you get to this experience? And now I don't doubt what you're saying, Walter, and that you've experienced that. Now I'm investigating Howard, and maybe it's just because I'm 10 steps behind. Maybe the non-dualists have got a fair point and a fair construct. But until they start to answer it logically and not in circles, so when they say emptiness contains everything, and I say, well, then it's not empty anymore, you need to give it a name.
You know why they say that? They say that everything is empty because it's relative to no position, and there's nothing to compare it to. So there's no relativity in regards to what appears to be this immediate experience. So when somebody is saying everything is empty and emptiness is appearing as everything, what they're saying is that this immediate experience that appears separate and we appear to have consciousnesses and all these different things, all of that is relative. That immediate experience is relative to no other place, no other time, no other position. So this here now is not a place or a time. It's not a thing. And therefore, it appears as everything, but it's empty because it is relative to nothing. And there is nothing beyond it.
But
There's
that's a description of God, Howard.
That is whatever. Well, you can say whatever you like. Yeah, you can call it God if you like.
I'm not calling it that. I'm saying that is God. That's, I'm not saying it is. That's, if you said to somebody justify a God, they'll say, well, God is everywhere. God is full of
Yeah, but
everything.
everywhere is not a thing.
Yeah, and I say that
everywhere and everything is not a thing. I'm not saying there's no deity. I mean, I in no way.
I don't want to get distracted. What I'm saying is that description is describing, and when I say to them, well, you've got to name the emptiness. You can't just turn around and say, trust me, it's empty. It's not relative.
I'm telling you that it's relative to no position. I'm saying, you're asking me why people say that, and I'm telling you that's why, because this immediate experience is not relative to the moon or relative to the sun. It's not relative.
And I investigate and I challenge it, and I say, what is my human relative to the moon got to do with anything?
Well, because
the moon, how does what I relatively think about something affect a physical object like my Rubik's Cube?
Okay.
Then they struggle.
Most of the people do not know what they're talking about.
They should just say, I don't know.
Well, lots of people have just read it few sentences and believe that has realized the truth and non-existence. I'll tell you, because without experience, you cannot validate through logic. This is where we can start again the same conversation, but lots of people do not know what they're talking about. They have come to conclusion from some books, from some videos on non-duality, and they have taken it for real. That's all about. And if you like to know about non-duality, someone can give you some clues, but without your own experience, you cannot understand. You can only investigate in your own self.
I got lost in non-duality for about 5 years. Totally distracted for 5 years about non-duality, and I went round and round and round in circles. And after about 5 years, I asked myself the questions I'm asking Howard
Mhm.
to realize that for me, there is no step apart from where water is. There's nothing, everything from where water is, from where you are downwards or upwards, logically, you know, in these discussions we have, is just human constructions, and we're arguing the difference in our constructions. Is
Yeah,
what
perspectives.
yeah, so
Even in non-duality, which is some kind of ridiculous somehow, but okay, we can play with that. Non-duality is not non-existence itself. Existence is not the object that people deny. Existence is not material. Therefore, it comes the big confrontation. But the confront is from a dualistic point. And lots of people do not understand what non-duality is as a philosophy, as practice, because there is a practice in non-duality. And there are people that have really realized who they are and who are not. They can speak. We can only give our perspective. That's what I mean. We can only give a perspective without full total experience. We can only tell stories. That's the stories of the mind, what we are doing now in this moment.
and I feel for Walter, because I was where you were, where your experience is very, very hard to explain to other people. I found it very difficult to say to my wife and to other people, oh, I don't exist, and stand in front of them and say it. And this feeling that of how what came with that, I found very, very difficult. So yeah, I can't think of the right word, Walter, but I recognize where you're at. It's a very interesting place to be.
And it's you know, you hear a lot about unknowing
Yeah.
in these meetings. So that for me, you know, I mean, I could take a stab at trying to answer some of these questions, but really, I mean, what the hell do I know?
That's a good
You
place.
know,
That's a good
I
place
don't
to
even, yeah, I mean, I, I thought I was existed. Well, when that assumption is starts to, you know, you see it as just an assumption, then everything is an assumption. There is no fact. So the sun and the moon, I mean, who the hell knows?
Walter, there is a fact. So this is this. I'm saying the sun and the moon are objects.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Hang on, I'll tell you. In a universe full of objects. Yeah, that reality just is what it is. How we perceive it and how we try to prove what it is and prove our construct of it is false.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we do not need to agree on the if all four of us agreed that the sun wasn't hot anymore, it wouldn't matter, the sun would still be hot. If the whole human race agreed that nothing existed, it wouldn't matter, everything would still exist. So we're just talking about concepts of what we think, which is great fun, don't get me wrong, we all enjoy it. We're social animals, it's what we do.
Tribalism.
Yes, and it's a good thing. But I think what you've had an experience which you're exploring exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way to understand non-duality. Like, or as you say, before it was called God, now it's trendy to be said consciousness, awareness, void, whatever.
Yeah.
It cannot be perceived. It can only be experienced. Perception through senses cannot bring you to non-duality. That's the point. It's not enough to read or watch some videos if you don't validate this with a experience. And when I say experience, not the perception that I am touching this, so this is or this is not. No, experience as full from all from all parts, not before the brain tells you that you touch something, so this is real. But you somehow know it. You know. There is nothing you don't know. It just appears as a knowledge, as video, as a talk, as whatever. You already know that. But who is the one that can experience it for you?
Let me give you. I've really got to go. Just say, and Howard, this is just saying. Just say God existed, and God come down one day and said, "Hello, Howard. Hello, Walter. Hello, Jesse. How are you?" And you went, "I'm fine, God." And you asked him all the questions, and then God I said, "See you later, mate. Catch you later." And went. I could not explain that to you. I would have to ask you to believe me that that happened. The only way that we really know ourselves what reality is, I believe, is by experiencing it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've got 7.2 billion people, all with a separate experience of reality, building constructs and arguing about it. One of them, or all of them, I don't know how many, one of them may know for definite what the world's made of. But I'd have to believe him, wouldn't I?
Yes.
So if I said Father Christmas existed because I met him one day, you'd have to believe me.
Yes.
So what's the point of trying to explain it to you? You have to find out for yourself. And the only way you can find out is by doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there must be a marriage between knowledge and experience.
Well, it's much like when my man is holding up the Rob is holding up the Rubik's cube and saying, "This is the white
Oh,
side."
hang on, Paul. It says here, look,
Paul.
Howard, don't call me Robert. You did it the last meeting.
I'm sorry, Paul. Paul. Paul.
Yeah, I can see it right
sorry,
there.
it's been an hour.
Paul Pender.
Yeah,
Paul Pender, yes.
Name.
Double P.
But it's like
What's
Paul,
up, PP?
It's like Paul holding up the Rubik's cube and saying, "We know that this is white," and no, that's not at all true.
Say we know.
Well, okay, but I'm just using an example.
We construct this is white in our head. We don't know what this is.
Right.
There's no knowing.
Right. So we, okay, don't know that we are talking to each other, in that we are not separate points in time and space. And so the idea that I can say what is true or what is not true, you would have to believe that I am here. You can't know it, right?
It doesn't matter to me whether you're here or not.
But okay, but you were talking about belief and God and all of that stuff.
No, I'm talking about how the point I was trying to make is that we can only find it individually. We can listen. You can listen to Jesse. I can listen to all, but at the end of the day, the only way that whatever I say or whatever anyone says can be proven to you is if you experience it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So so it doesn't matter whether it exists or not.
Well, the paradox of that is, it's much like a linear chain of events, right? You're on a timeline. You got a cone up here that's saying this is Paul, and Paul is everything that has to do with this cone. This cone comes to a point, and on this point in a linear time, at this time in my life, I experienced non-duality. Okay, let's just say I became enlightened. Say that. Okay, so here it is at X amount of age, at X of time, and X place, I became enlightened. Now, underneath that timeline is the lack of separation. And all of the things that appear on that timeline are completely irrelevant. There is no time or space. There is no object. There is no you to be enlightened. There is none of that exists. So
But
it's
there is no
impossible.
non-you.
So,
In
but
that-
I'm just using this as an example. It's much like the character trying to leave the book, or the movie star trying to leave the movie. Okay, you cannot say that you went to a place where things don't exist, because there's no you here and no there. So
You can't use the movie star in the book because they're human constructs.
okay, well, yes,
Describe,
but everything is a human. See that now we're getting somewhere. Now
No,
we're
it's-
getting somewhere.
Not every. No, it's not. Reality, the universe as objects is just what it is. It's not affected by us.
Yes,
Human
exactly.
construct, a book or a movie are made by humans to decide what humans want to project
Yes.
to humans.
Right.
So I'm saying you can't take you can't leave a book to say you can't leave it objectively, because
Well, it's a human construct that a cause has affected this appearance. Okay, to say that something began, or that the sun exists, or the moon is separate from it, is
done it.
what?
How would I have affected it? It's
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed, mate.
Well, see, now you're saying, so cause and effect exists independent of time and space, self, other.
Not actually time and space. I'm just saying that can change. And
It
on
can
that,
appear to.
I've got about 3 minutes and I'm off.
Okay. Well,
6
you
minutes.
know,
Paul, it was a
it's-
pleasure to meet you.
And you will.
absolutely.
Very
Thank
interested
you.
where
Thank
you
you
go.
for coming.
Well, I just, when they get, and maybe it's, I guess I haven't studied this stuff, but like, there's a lot of intellectual debates,
Yeah.
and it gets into some realms that I'm just like better off listening.
Well, I've concluded after a while that the best thing to do is just enjoy where you are and just live it. And part of intellectual debates and listening and enjoying is living it.
Now, is that a human concept? Is that a construction of a human concept?
It may be, Howard. It may be.
Okay, there you go. So
I don't know.
everything is just this, enjoying yourself is the human construct of a reality of a person that has accepted
if humans are talking to humans, we have to construct something. We construct words. We
right.
construct
So
ideas.
exactly.
The only way for me really to get my message across is to be silent.
Well, the universe is just the perceivable aspect of reality. The perceivable you who construct, you who dream, that is the perceivable part. Everything else you just cannot perceive. Therefore, your mind cannot conceive. That is the real part where it's coming to the immediate experience, the raw experience of your own self. I would say it again, your own self, even though you are not the separate body, but there is just the presence that this body is not mine, it doesn't belong to me, and yet I am there. You cannot go out of it.
Well, because we're not an individual separate self. There's no self.
Exactly. And the experience is just that. In this moment, you has no doubt if you are or you are not. There is no even a question if you exist or not. You do not disappear only because you don't identify yourself in this moment. Although even I can say even the Buddha, who became enlightenment beyond concept, he still had to deal with the body, and he had to
Now,
die or leave the
see,
body somehow.
You're assuming that the Buddha existed in time and space. See,
Oh,
you're thinking in terms of an
yes,
actual
because
human being
yeah,
that
the
existed
Buddha
at
is
another
my
time.
own knowledge. The Buddha, the appearance of Buddha in my mind is an appearance as knowledge of Buddha. It doesn't mean that I don't know the Buddha, and it doesn't mean that I separate myself from him.
Well, the difference is that the Buddha didn't actually exist in time and space. It just appears to have existed in this here
Yes,
and now.
Howard, that is how you came to conclusion that you don't exist. But you,
No, it's just
I
the way it
asked you
is.
to validate it as experience. You cannot validate it except from logic. And logic
Jesus
in
Christ.
time of in reality do not exist separately. Yes, you can laugh forever, but you cannot validate me. Therefore, you take the defensive position, because you only can validate it through your assumption, through concept, through your knowledge, which you say that do not exist.
True.
Can I
That's
ask
my-
a stupid question, Jesse?
Yeah, I like
I don't know.
stupid.
I don't know if it's really stupid. I don't know. I was just gonna ask you, is there anybody that I might know that, you know, that you like or you feel is congruent with what you're
I don't
saying? Or
understand.
I'm asking, are there any non-duality speakers that you relate to, that you resonate with, that you feel are similar to how
Well,
you feel?
You just said his name about 8 times, Walter.
well, I
sorry?
would say my favorite is Shankaracharya, who is not in the body. He died, so to speak. I like the Dzogchen and
Chen?
Longchenpa.
Oh, you
Dzogchen,
like
Longchenpa. Longchenpa
oh,
is, I like his
the
kind of,
basic space of awareness. You
yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I got you.
Right, and on that note, thank you very much for your time, and
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
thank you, Howard, for being so patient. And
Thank
hopefully
you, Paul.
cover.
Right back at you.
It was
Nice.
a pleasure, Paul.
I hope
I
you
hope-
come back, man. I really do.
We'll
I
do
hope,
it again.
I hope it was a pleasure. It was meant to be a pleasure, not too much of a chore. Speak to you all soon.
Thank you, man. I hope I see you again real soon, man.
I'm sure you will, Howard.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, no, that was interesting. You said Longchenpa because the great. That's like we were talking about the Great Way a little bit, Howard.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's awareness. Everything is an appearance in awareness.
Yeah. And I like him maybe because the experience I had, and later on, I realized that I had some kind of experience. Later, I found Longchenpa. It came after that. Like, it was not influenced me. And there is like, therefore, I realized that I already know that, and it comes like a knowledge or validation of what is reality. But from living now people, there are some, I like too much the Swami Rama from Himalayas. He's, he is was realized like yogi, but he explains it through duality, Sankhya philosophy as well. He doesn't make a really big distinction between duality and non-duality, because somehow we have to deal with duality. I like this way of teaching as well, because somehow, even though we realize we have to deal with the bodies, I cannot deny the body. That will be crazy.
Who has to deal with the body?
I do. When yes, Howard, because I'm not following a logic like you. I follow what is
Come
in the
on, don't be like
moment.
that. Don't be
When
like that.
I feel the body, look, I feel it. I cannot deny it. I'm not going to suicide. I asked you before, why don't you go and jump under the train? You say, I cannot, I don't want to feel pain. That's why I feel this body. I cannot deny it.
But do you
The
believe in
only-
the existence of free will and choice?
The only thing I know that there is a false identity. I have experienced both, but I cannot deny the body. When I'm hungry, I will go and eat. If I go to bathroom,
Yeah,
it's
I don't, but that's the leap I don't make. I think that eating happens, sleeping happens, but there's no one eating or sleeping. So this
Well-
body will be taken care of by this body. But
You
there is no
wish-
separate individual
Yeah,
I
yeah,
who has to take
okay.
care of the body.
Nothing happens in your command, because
Everything is
there
just
is no separate you to do something.
Right.
So the body will take care of you. But what if, like a like a character realized that this is illusion, let's go and kill myself? You wouldn't do that, because there is still the unresolved, as we say, fear and experience of the body. Let's don't be insane. We're not some
But it's
we're
not my
some
sphere.
Siddhis. We're not some Siddhis in the Himalayas that can move reality, you know, as they want. We feel the body, we hungry, we want to go to the toilet. That's normal. We have to deal
That's
with
just
duality.
bodies. That's just bodies. I mean, your cat goes to the toilet.
Well, why not? So we have to deal with the body.
Does your
We
cat
have to
choose?
deal with duality, because all we know is duality. We have some glimpses, but they are not permanent. Therefore, we can say that this was false as well. This is just a glimpse, is not realization of non-duality. Logic and glimpses are not realization. It's just what gives you some essence of non-duality.
What is realization?
Realization is where you fully realize non-separation. That's non-duality, that's realization. You don't become something, but you realize that you are not separate from all that is. And then yes, you know that this appearance, but you are not yet separate from it. Therefore, you don't go into yourself.
Does the sun and the moon, are the sun and the moon separate?
Well, from perspective of when I'm speaking now, I feel this body.
I don't want to hear logic.
I feel the sun and the moon.
Oh,
I
this
see
is
the
Paul
sun and
coming
the moon,
back. It's Howard.
and they are separate, exactly, but they are separate only from perspective. Just
Whose
from perspective.
Just from
Yeah.
perspective.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that's it. It's just the illusion of following the thought process, because the difference, and those are not my words now, the difference between a sage and a normal person is just the one dwells in the mind, in the thoughts, and the other just doesn't care what he thinks, doesn't care even about logic. He will not come here and try to convince me or Howard if something exists or not. He will never take a position, because that's ridiculous.
So you don't think Howard's enlightened? You know,
That's a good one.
you think there's more work to be done for Howard?
Well,
There's another place to get to.
literally, if I take it from knowledge, from science, I would say that Howard is just hallucination. Same, yeah, same like me.
He's a hallucination.
I-
I'm sorry. He's a how do you say that word? Hallucination. I can't say.
hallucination.
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 And so I'm your hallucination, Jesse.
Yeah, somehow still, if I experience myself, I would say, yeah, everything is just a hallucination.
Right.
It's a good answer.
Okay, so if there's no self and you're not thinking, then what is hallucination?
That I perceive you now,
Mhm.
I perceive me from scientific point of view, we are just hallucinations.
Okay.
But from my perspective, personal perspective, we are possibility.
Mhm.
Just a possibility. Nothing happens, but there is a possibility of Howard, Jess, and Walter having this conversation.
Yeah.
This is my personal belief.
Yes. Yes, it appears to be that way in that, yeah, we appear to be separate and we appear to be, having different, different ideas and all these things.
Yeah.
And, the sun and the moon appear to be separate and all of these things that are and are not time and space, or are and are not existence, or are and are not consciousness, and everything else, is, as you said, a conglomeration of all of these things, senses and thoughts and the appearance of the self and other, all of these things appear to exist within this here and now, relative
Yes.
to no position, making it thingless. So we are the appearances of all of those things, yet there is no individual that can substantiate anything anybody says, right?
No, like individual, no.
But like I cannot substantiate anything about you. I can't substantiate anything about myself or Walter, Paul, anybody. And so when I talk about what is or is not, it's coming from a place that has no footing whatsoever. So for me to say that I have a body that needs to be tended to with food and drink and taking a dump, whatever, all of that is within the appearance of this separate now happening. But none
Yes.
of that is relative to anything. And I mean, there's nothing to compare it to. There's no way to name it. There's no way to say it's a screen or it's a movie or it's a book or it's not any of those things. It's all of those things and none of those things simultaneously, perhaps, or not even that. But I will, say that, an individual that is conscious and aware of other would think that they have a body, that they have a body that was born, lives, and will die. And that is the illusion of a life in a universe that cannot
Yes.
be. Yeah. So it appears that way to the individual, but the individual not not being objectively real, then none of that actually exists in any sense. There's no way to say I have a body, because I can't even know that I myself am separate from anything I'm appearing to to be separate from. So there's no way for you to say that well, whatever it is that you're saying is true or false. There's no way for me to validate that, because I can't even validate my own existence. Therefore, I can't even validate existence or experience or anything in an objective sense. It may seem ludicrous to say, I don't have a body. I don't exist in time and space. This is not happening. All of that cause and effect is not real. Time and space is an illusion. All of it is absolutely bonkers, but it is predicated on the paradoxical appearances understanding that 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 anything to attach to any of this would be subjective and not even subjective objective. It's totally baseless. There's no way to say that any of it is actual. There's no truth or false, or there's no lie, or there's no doer, and there's no God or not God. All of it appears to be happening in this here and now, but does not happen as it appears. And that, whether that sounds dualistic or non-dualistic, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. It appears to be happening to what appears to be a self, but is not happening as it appears. And that cannot be communicated. It's not even accurate to the conceptual self's own experience. So any of it to be said is experiential or not experiential, or this must be done, or that must be done, or something must, I have a body. Any of it, all of it, is the story of an individual that is aware and conscious of something other than itself. But that is the story of an individual. That's the story of separation. It's the story of time and space, the story of cause and effect, the story of the sun and the moon. All of it is, even as the sun is burning your arm, it's not objectively true that you exist and the sun is burning your arm. It doesn't matter. If somebody's torturing me in a dungeon, that sucks for the apparent me, and it may actually take place sometime. That might actually happen. But as they're torturing me, I cannot objectively verify that that is what is happening. It appears to be happening. It hurts like hell, but it is not existence as it appears to the individual self that thinks they exist in time and space, with a body that was born, raised, and will die. All of that is, it goes even more bonkers than what you're alluding to, in that there is no body, literally no body. There's no.
There is no solid body. The sun and the moon are not what we perceive, but in reality, there is no distinction between those things. There is no
Yes.
distinction if is or is not.
Okay.
That
well,
was my
you
point
see,
from the beginning.
right. So you see me though, right? You see me dancing around in
Yeah.
your screen, right? Now, is it objectively true that I exist? Do I exist?
Why not?
Okay. Why not is not yes or no.
Well, you have to, I have to start speaking logically, rationally.
Well, do I appear to exist?
Yes, you appear.
Okay. I appear to exist, though
Yes.
you yourself don't exist, right?
Well, what you cannot understand is, like, in reality, there is no distinction. There is no wandering mind, as we can say. There is
Right.
no wondering if this is true or not.
Right.
There is no distinction.
Right. There's no
There
true or
is no
false.
self and non-self.
Right. Neither one is true. Right.
And yet you are aware of the body. Awareness do not leave. It's permanent. Only the identity disappears.
Does not
somehow.
exist.
But the awareness is there. The awareness doesn't disappear. Like only because you believe that you are not the body, it doesn't mean that the body will disappear. And yet this is a deep belief. And awareness is there to check in,
Mhm.
regardless from any concept.
Yes. And from that chain of thought, if there's no one thinking, all right, and none of that is actually true or false, right? It's not either or, right? So if none of that is actual, all right, then it's not dualistic or non-dualistic. It's not you telling me something or me telling you.
There is no question of duality and non-duality.
Okay, so
Just
it
please.
appears dualistic, but it is not dualistic, is right. Okay, so it's both.
No
appears
question,
to
no
be-
doubt.
So it appears to be existence, but does not exist as it appears, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so that
but you don't lose consciousness or awareness. You don't go.
whatever, it doesn't matter from that point of view, from that perspective of, I'll use your word, perspective, from that perspective of it does and does not exist. It appears to exist. All of it appears to exist in duality, but does not exist as it appears, as in not separation. So it's both simultaneously.
Have
Right?
you experienced a thoughtless state?
Yes.
How it was?
Well, I don't think, Jesse. I'm not thinking.
Yes.
I never
you
think,
were aware
ever
of
think,
this.
ever. Now,
No,
and the
but-
story of an enlightenment going to
I'm
a
not
forever
talking-
absolute.
No. I'm not talking about enlightenment. I'm talking for thoughtless state in a state that you don't.
Yes. I think I know what you mean. You're saying conceptually, did I leave the subject object world and go into thinglessness?
No. Literally, no thoughts.
Yes.
How it was.
It's undescribable. It's this, but it also is
you were-
undescribable.
Yes, but my point is that there was awareness
Well,
of it.
yeah, not really, but yeah. I mean, it's impossible to talk about because there's no awareness. There's nothing to be aware of, and there's no self to be aware of.
No. The awareness was there because you wouldn't say that you have experienced this state.
I mean, you could say that, but no, it's not accurate.
Like a sound in the background that always there.
I mean, yeah,
and
you
then
could say that.
now-
Yeah,
And
it's
the
impossible.
words of the
Right.
song just appear.
Mhm.
Something like that, if we can say. The sound is unchangeable there. But we give attention to the words instead of the sound.
Right.
And yet the sound and the words are inseparable. Inseparable.
Yeah. But I mean, so does it mean they don't mean anything, right?
I'm not saying there is a meaning. The meaning is when we focus on the words, so we're looking for special meaning. Otherwise, it's just there.
Right. And so just being there would include sound or silence. So to the apparent individual, it might sound like you're listening to music, or it might not sound like anything, as in silence.
No, I'm just giving an example, like to compare.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I just read something Walter wrote. What was that?
Oh, sorry, I just shared some Long Chen Pa.
So
So I was just gonna look at it, see, hold on. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, Jesse.
No, I mean, I give you an example with sound and words. Like sometimes we don't give attention to the sound,
Mhm.
but because we are looking meaning in the words, it doesn't mean that the sound is not there. And actually, what drives us in the rhythm is the sound.
Mhm.
We're just not, we just don't pay attention because we're not relaxed enough to take it all together. Something like that, if I can say.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's impossible to discuss these things. I mean, insofar as and for some reason, I can't figure out a way to get you to understand that experience, okay, is subjective.
No, I
And it
totally
doesn't mean anything.
understand.
Right.
I
So
understand what you mean. I just like to push your button.
thanks a lot. You're good at it. No, it's one of those things where, you know, you know, I was to be able to explain to somebody that experience does not have, nothing has to exist in order to negate it, can be difficult. You got to meet people where they are conceptually within a conversation in order to do that. So it can either be like I could say, it just doesn't exist, and just like do like many speakers do, which is to say no, it just is just this, and not answer any questions. And but the thing is that I don't really like to do that. And I want to get into the intricacies of what is meant by the question and the answer, just to see where it goes. I find that beautiful and fascinating, and a pointer into its own right. But it's no different from, you know, if somebody saying it's just this, or I am aware and holding, you know, an object, or the sun and the moon are separate, or any of that kind of stuff. All of it is predicated on the assumption that I exist here and now and am aware of you. I I can see you. I can, you know, you exist, and you know what we're doing is communicating information. All of that is the illusion of an experience happening. Whereas what appears to be happening is an effect without a cause for its own sake. So there's everything that appears within this immediate experience, this room of non-duality, is the totality of existence. So it's not a person aware of a thing within the room. It's actually the room expressing the totality of existence as just this. So there's no one thinking, no one has to do anything, nobody's aware of anything, there's no body, there's no necessity for anything, but
But there
it
is an
does
expression.
appear as, I'm sorry.
But there is an expression. If there is a room expressing, there is an expression.
Right. Well, that's what this is. That's what we are. And we're, for lack of a better phrase,
Yes.
we are the expression of the totality of existence in this here and now.
Yeah.
We appear to be. How that happens, you got me. But the totality of existence that is not a cause or effect. It doesn't have a purpose, a meaning, a reason. There's no greater purpose, meaning, or reason. There's nothing that is starting it or stopping it. This here right now is completely boundless, and it's just you. There's no way to say that everything appears to be happening, but does not happen as it appears, other than to repeat myself like a fool. But it is what it is, and is not is. But I think I already said that one too. But
I know, I know. I really understand what you mean.
so
And
yeah, so to be aware of something else, I must, you know, I must exist. I must experience something in order to negate it. But what is happening is the totality of expression is expressing a me, thinking I'm separate from a you, but that's
I
not
know,
what's
because
going down.
the same way I was, your words were somehow my words, for example, a year ago, and I'm seeing posts on, my memories on YouTube, and I was like, oh, it sounds like Howard, but that was me. Yeah, yeah. Just now, the difference is I just go and doubt even this, because this was my belief, and I realized that this is just another concept. But from experiential point, it's what I said, that the awareness is never lost.
Well, yeah, and you could say, poker chips are never lost. I mean, you can say whatever you want. It just doesn't mean anything.
I told you before, the first time I experienced this thoughtless state, which was not on purpose, not meditating or something or shit, just like that, I just realized that there was a moment when the thought appears, why I feel so good. I just tried to put it in the concept, and I realized that I'm just not thinking. And I was aware of me and the body, but it wasn't as a body.
Right.
I cannot say that I was aware of the particular body.
Right.
But there was the awareness of this, if I could say, heat, calmness, and warmth, and was so perfect. And after I realized that this is no thoughts, no nothing, and I then desperately wanted to go again. It's kind of addictive. I wanted to go again to that moment. It couldn't happen on purpose, because that was the person who likes and wants to experience that. And yes, there was not a separate awareness of a separate being, but the awareness of, wow, yes, some kind of blissful, chill reality or nothingness, whatever you call, was there.
Right.
It cannot go. And
Yeah.
it was not personal, because the person arises later.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm saying, therefore, maybe I insist and I take it as a concept anymore, and I try to explain something that cannot be explainable, and therefore I insist that there is awareness.
Mhm.
Even impersonal or nothing, there is just this.
Yeah, I love that, and and it's true in a sense that it's true. It's just this appearing as everything, but it's nothing, because it's relative to no position. And so,
Maybe the body is just a interpretation.
well,
Like,
I mean, all of that, with that, yes, it could be, but it's just, yeah, I mean, an interpretation of an appearance of a happening. Sure. Yeah.
that's all. I got to go because my kids are going crazy and they need food.
Jesse, you have made this day so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you,
for being here.
Jesse.
Bye bye. Thanks
It
a
was
lot.
guys.
fun
Thank you.
hanging out with you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
How this stops? Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh,
I have,
there you go.
yeah, there you go. I have two friends that her and my friend, another guy, I think he got a little upset about me mentioning his name, but I'm going to stop mentioning his name. So in any case, another guy that I know very well, and we just go and round and round and round. And both of them, Jesse and this other fella, have been with me since I started the group. And you know, from the get-go, it's been about making sure that I never get married to any particular pointer. You know, I mean, and that's, I think when she came in like a bull in a china shop, I immediately reacted. And I don't need to do anything, but for me, I recognize that, you know, why am I reacting this way? You know, and it really is, it's one of those things where her and I have gone at it so many times and what, you know, one of the things that she likes to do is, she'll say yes, you know, and she'll agree with me, and oh my God, this is beautiful. And then the next time I talk to her, she's right back to dualism. And it's almost, and she does it to mess with my mind, or to mess with me and my, you know, what I think is real or not real and all this stuff. And, you know, I have to catch myself on occasion being impatient or angry or try to be reactionary, because that's what, you know, her whole purpose is. You know, her and the other guy, their whole purpose in life is to get me to get caught up in my story, and they're pretty good at it. It's fun though. I mean, the best thing about it is that it works in that I'm constantly reminded that even though I'm laying out this process of a pointer, that I myself am being, you know, thinking that it has any kind of relevance or logic. So it can be frustrating at times because I'm talking to an individual and I'm making progress in that appearance. But then, then they'll just come in and you know, and the next thing I know, everything turns to spaghetti. And you know, and it's like, and I lose that that illusionary trajectory with that person that I'm speaking to. And so there are times when, you know, I could let my own story get a hold of me, and they know how to push my buttons in that way. She's really good at it. I just wanted to recognize that for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, no, I liked her energy because, you know, livens things up.
Yeah.
And she's got a cool perspective. I'm familiar with it now that I kind of fleshed it out, because I'm glad she mentions Lung Chimpa and that, because I think that's kind of like Rupert Spira and that kind of way of thinking.
Yeah.
But I guess my only thing is like, well, why is awareness, you know, such a big deal? Or
Yeah.
why is how do you know that that's real? So it's like,
you know, what is
everything,
it that we're hanging on to here, and why?
everything
You know?
gets negated, but there's one thing, you know.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I really, it really is. You know, it's one of those double-edged kind of deals where you know, it's very, very beneficial to me, because in one way, I've spent so many hours and days and years talking to those two people in this way, to where it helps me articulate these pointers that I have. But then at the same time, I can never get through a pointer, because, you know, it's the constant negation of what I'm saying. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying this is true. Just let me get through this pointer. You know,
Yeah.
and the thing about it is it reminds me of the monk, the guy that comes in and he says, I studied with this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy, and I know this, that, and the other. And the monk looks at him and he goes, your cup's already full. You know, what do you want from me? You know, I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't, you know, I mean, if I pour any more tea into the cup, it'll just overflow and nothing's going to happen. I mean, it's just a waste of time in that regard. As far as like actually, you know, having any kind of, you know, having any kind of discussion or seeker whatever it is, seeker speaker relationship. But yeah, um, both of them basically know how to push my buttons. I just wanted to. I kind of regret having that kind of attachment. In that, I should be more of aware.
Does the other guy come into this group?
Paul, yeah, he's come a few times. I'm surprised he came today because he doesn't like being recorded. And so,
Oh, he's the one who said, "Don't say my name."
no. Well, Justin
Oh.
Lucido is the guy that Justin Lucido. He's
Oh.
in the. I mean, he's basically my. He's been really. We've been tight forever, but now,
I don't
he's
know if I
on like.
met him.
Yeah, he's definitely worth talking to. But he's got he's brilliant. He's great, but he's got the. He's just just to mess with me. Suddenly, he's back on this God kick where he's talking, he's trying to say immediate experience is God. And he's giving me all these links about God and it's like, oh my God, dude, please, not this again, and it never ends, it's like, well, why isn't it God? Why, if nothing is real, then why can't it be God? And and it's like, well, yeah, why can't it be consciousness? Why can't it be awareness? All of these things. It's like, but the beauty of it is being able to flush these things out with you here, Walter. You helped me so much today, and just everything was so. Well, everything was so. I mean, today I could not have asked for a better day. This was amazing for me, and I just cannot help but to think. Hopefully, I'll just keep doing them every Monday, and hopefully, it'll just kind of keep happening, and and everything will just, as far as I'm concerned, what happened today was beautiful, and I loved it. And,
you had a great crowd, man. You really did.
I thought so. I thought it was.
I mean, beautiful. Look, I got 7 hours on my thing here. I mean, there was continuous conversation for 7 hours.
For 7 hours, nobody just sat around.
And with different people interacting at different times, but I mean, it pretty much was uninterrupted for 7 hours, and that's amazing.
That's absolutely, yeah.
That you pulled that off. It's crazy.
Oh, I couldn't have done it without you. I couldn't have done it without you and everybody else. I mean, it's actually one of.
Well, you definitely couldn't have done it without at least one other person, but because it would just be you sitting there for 7 hours.
I thought your skill level was actually, as far as the conversations were going. I mean, you coming in, and I mean your timing of it and everything, absolutely beautiful, man.
Well, what I like is because I haven't been. I like being pushed, and watching you be pushed, because it's like, yeah, what if I did want to do like a Q&A?
Yeah.
I have, you got to be prepared for anything. Yeah. And, some brilliant neuroscientist can start coming at you. And like, my intellect is just not on that level. So like, yeah, it's nice to get really intelligent questions posed to you like that.
Yeah.
Because then you see what you're made of and how you can field them, and like what how you're going to approach that.
Right. The
put your feet to the fire. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about it is, it's not just the logic aspect of it, or the pointer that you're using in the moment, but the fact that you can't use it, or like the way it's it's like, well, when somebody asks me a question and I try to walk them through a process, and they want to negate the process and just know the answer, and I'm like, I'm trying to show you how I got here, and I can't just tell you. You have to. I can point. That's it. And you had to get there yourself, and there's no way that, like, if you came back tomorrow and said, I got it, it happened, and I would love it, and not you, but somebody that hadn't got it, and I would be like, there literally is no way that I could know what you were talking about. I would say, well, what did you get? What was it like? Da, 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 da. And the next thing you know, they're like, well, it's not really it's not a thing, but the next thing you know, they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing, because now your feet are on the fire, and it's like, well, what happened? Well, it didn't really happen. Well, what was it like? Well, it wasn't really like anything. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But I love that
yeah,
Coquila comes every week too, and
oh yeah, because she's coming from a different place, and everyone, like we said already, is 7 billion versions of reality expressing themselves, and you had a handful of them in your room, and it's beautiful to see. Oh wow, like I know she's saying that because that was her experience.
right.
That's the way it was revealed to her, so she can't express it any other way, and neither can I.
Yeah.
It wasn't revealed to me as awareness, and that was, and this intellectual understanding was not given to me either. So I can't really talk about the distance between the sun and the moon, or any of that. But it's just, that was a great question, though, the sun and the moon thing.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to answer it, but I couldn't. But I wasn't allowed to. Yeah, I was like, just follow me through this now. And every time I'd say something, no, I don't like that, or no, I don't want to hear that. And it's like, just follow this process with me, and I'll tell you why it appears that people say that kind of stuff. Paul's Paul's experience is really fascinating to me, because his renditions of time and space are just so beyond, or so different from my own, and which is exactly the pointer. It's like he's saying that time and space exists in the now, and that is what appears as objects in separation. But also the universe exists as far as the sun and the moon being separate. But that has nothing to do with logic or knowing, but it's just there. And it's like, okay, well, let's take this one step at a time. And I haven't been able to get there with him yet, but I think we will eventually be able to sit down and hash a lot of that out. But I think that he's I think everybody, I just loved everybody. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. Well, thank you. I probably should move on.
Oh, 7 hours and you're out, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you stayed your 7 hours. Fine.
What a wimp. You can't handle 8 hours of non-duality.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
you, Walter, to the bottom of my heart, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you too, man. That was great.
Let's do it
Looking
again.
forward to next Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Next Monday. And I hope I see you like out there in the trenches of Facebook real soon.
Yes, sir. You too. I'm sure I'll be chiming in on your group or whatever.
I hope so, man. I really do.
All right. Thanks for the great meeting today.
Thank you, Walter. Bottom
See you
of my
next
heart,
time,
brother.
pal.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man.
Thanks. Peace.
No problem. Peace. Okay. And we see here. So I go here, and that one's there, and there's one person around. So we go, oh, so I go here, and then press stop.